On a common template from antiquity, we have a number of steps. I will tell you one of them is being called very specifically. There is supernatural aid. There is gathering up things that you need along the way, your help, your characteristics, and there is a destination to go. Look at this pattern right here. Jesus was called as being the only Son of God, had supernatural powers, traveled with hand-picked disciples, and instructs us to seek the kingdom of heaven within. King Arthur was called as the only one who could get Excalibur, had Merlin for supernatural powers, traveled with hand-picked knights, and seeks the Holy Grail. Do you see the template pattern there? This is a difficult video for me. I have, in my lifetime, never seen such an extreme level of misunderstanding from spiritual teachers from antiquity, and the way that Jesus really has been pulled out of his role as a spiritual teacher in the past who taught us how to love one another and how to help one another and how to feed one another and get along. And it's morphed into something we see today that is incredibly severe. There's no other religious figure on the planet that is so galvanizing, that is so versatile, that is so used or misused. Everybody thinks they're right. Why? I've made a video recently that Christianity is idol worship, and that's exactly the reason why. Because people were told you only have to worship Jesus. It's kind of a strange thing to me. All of my life I have known people who, at some point in time, you might learn that they're Christian, but you would go, really? You don't go to church, you go drink. I don't see anything different between you and me, really. Why are you a Christian? It doesn't mean we're doing anything bad or anything like that, but apparently all I would have to do in order to go to heaven forever would be to not even change my ways, because obviously I'm doing the right things. All I have to do is believe in God, which is totally bizarre. Put yourself in God's shoes. Is that what you want out of your... I just want people to believe in me, no matter what. Somebody made a comment on that video that, well, I can understand maybe the church and Paul, I'm not quite sure there, but you still worship Jesus. That's what I'm saying. You don't worship Jesus. You follow his teachings. He came to teach something. The church told you, we're going to include his teachings, but we're going to tell you just worship him. That's where it went wrong right there. Idol worship. Do you do what Jesus teaches, or do you idol worship? Everybody says they do. Then you look at the... No, they worship Jesus. I look at what Christianity is, and according to Christianity, everybody who believes and accepts Jesus into their heart is a Christian by default. That's who's going to heaven. I look around the world and go, that's hell. I'm not going there. My name is Dan Paulson. Welcome to the channel. This is motivated because it's a struggle for me to understand that Jesus taught love and peace like the Buddha, and to see his teachings being used because of the Catholic Church issue and because we're evolving and because people deny that. They use religion as an excuse to really circumvent resolving issues. It's tribal. People are acting out very tribal, but they're using Jesus as an excuse, while at the same time you read Jesus and look at them and go, what the hell are you doing? They're not doing what Jesus teaches. They're doing what Paul teaches. Just worship him. That's the church. If Buddha taught something and said, here is my message, and then somebody came along later and said, don't even do what Buddha says, just worship him, what kind of sense would that make? That's exactly what this is right here. Now, what I'm going to do is actually go through some Jesus verse interpretation. But before I do, I want to show a technique that is used on a global scale for specific verses, for religious and spiritual verses. I'm going to use other examples first that I think are more comfortable to use, because if people have not heard this used with Jesus material before, it might seem a bit strange. What I want to do is use something from the Buddha. This is called the Dhammapada. It's a very short collection of works and represents really the core teaching of kind of spiritual enlightenment. It is not in plain language, although this one is very close. The way spiritual teachings work back then, there's no media. You got a lot of time. You need answers. You're trying to work stuff out, but you need to wire your brain. So it's given to you in a cryptic way. So you have to go think about it. You go talk to the master who gives you something that makes you go, oh, What does that mean? So, okay, I'm going to read a few things through here and show you how it works. This starts right off in the beginning, verse number 1. All that we are is the result of what we have thought. It is founded on our thoughts. It is made up of our thoughts. If a man speaks or acts with an evil thought, pain follows him as the wheel follows the foot of the ox that draws the carriage. Okay, now what this is telling us is that all that we are is a result of what we have thought, that we become an accumulation of our mental experiences and our perceptions, what we have judged in life. That is what we have thought. If a man speaks or acts with an evil thought. Now, evil in this case, these are analogous terms. They play out in the psyche. So we can look at that and go, boy, I'm not an evil person. That doesn't apply to me. We have to know that we're looking for enlightenment and that it somehow does. And that it doesn't mean evil as in me personally. What it means is evil to my life experience. What is hurting me? I might have had something happen when I was a kid that was so devastating that it keeps hurting me later. That would be considered evil, even though it wasn't me that did it. It's because it continues to hurt. So, if a man speaks or acts with an evil thought, so something bad happened, pain follows him. As the wheel goes around and around, follows the foot of the ox that draws the carriage. We put ourselves into this story. These are analogous representations of us. In this kind of a verse, it is about me. I am the foot of the ox that draws the carriage. That's me going through life, and pain is following me. The wheel follows me as I'm going through in life. So you see how that one works. This is telling me that if something bad has happened to me, it's going to continue to emerge throughout life. Verse number 2, all that we are is the result of what we have thought. It is founded on our thoughts. It is made up of our thoughts. That's exactly like the first one. We're mental experiences. However, this one takes a different turn. If a man speaks or acts with a pure thought, happiness follows him like a shadow that never leaves. The cyclical things cease to happen. Now, this might be jumping the gun a little bit, but I'm going to give an exact Jesus parallel to this right here. It's going to sound radically different, and I'm going to paraphrase. If you come to the altar to leave your gift, and while you're there, you remember that you have aught against your brother, don't leave your gift. Set it down, then go resolve the aught first, then come back and give your gift, and your Father who sees in secret will reward in secret. That's exactly the same thing of the first two Buddha verses, but look how different they sound. If you treat it the same way, we're going to play it out into the psyche. Why am I going to give a gift at the altar? It's because why am I gift at the altar is because I want a better life. I want a good life. So I want to have good graces. I want to have the shadow that never leaves. But while I'm there, I remember that I've got thoughts of sin, the cyclical things. I've got aught against my brother. I've got life experiences that I'm accumulated. Instead of looking for good graces, go resolve that stuff first. Then come back and look for good graces. And it happens automatically, as if in it, as within, so without. So we've just transitioned there. We were looking for the shadow that never leaves, that feels good. But we remembered that we've got cyclical pain, so we go and resolve that first. Then we come back and we've got it. Wow, see that? That's fun stuff. Verse number 3, he abused me, he beat me, he defeated me, he robbed me. And those who harbor such thoughts, hatred will never cease. So that becomes a part of who and what we are. Okay, so you see how this works. It's about me. It's about my life experience personally. It's not about the world or the world condition. It's about me. It's not about the afterlife. It's about this life. I'm going to jump to something called the Tao Te Ching. This is Chinese material from a master called Lao Tzu. Both of these people may not have existed. They both actually fit the criteria of monomyth stories, if somebody knows that. A lot of people call them real and true. A lot of religious monomyths are held to be true. Okay, this is going to sound something different. Naming is the origin of all particular things. This is about me and it's about my life. Naming is about me classifying or qualifying it. I now have the life experience that allows me to determine that is good, that is not good, that is shame, that is pain, that is hurt, that is something, somewhere, somehow. Naming is the origin of all particular things. For me in my life, at the moment I make a classification about what that is, it becomes a part of me. Free from desire, you realize the mystery. Free from desire, this is not me just mentally, physical desire. This is, again, analogous terms. What is it that I'm hanging on to? I could have had something bad happen, like in Buddha's verse, the evil thing. What I'm looking for here is the desire is that clingingness. I'm attached to something. I want to be free in life. So if I'm free from desire, free from hanging on to things, I realize the mystery. There's a flow in life that is free and it just flows well. Caught in desire, you see only the manifestations. Caught in those things that I'm hanging on to, I only see the repeat of them. That's Buddha's wheel. You see how that works? I am going to use that exact same process on Jesus material, Sermon on the Mount, Sermon on the Plain. Comfortable with that? Let's see what emerges. Okay, I'm going to start right in at the Sermon on the Sermon on the Plain here. Blessed are you who are poor, for yours is the kingdom of God. Okay, I'm going to treat this the same way. We're looking for a destination, kingdom of God. The idea is that after you die, you will get there. The teaching here is that you're looking for that now, that the kingdom of God is a mental space. If there's something afterwards, you do this now to those who can. Okay, so poor is what? That sounds physical, but this isn't about physical. It's about the spiritual world. When we're looking at Buddha and Lao Tzu material, those are not meant to be in a religious genre, but they're letting us know that it's the things that we're holding mentally inside of us that are the issues in our life. If we look here and make the same comparison, we realize that poor means devoid of, empty of, that when we are poor in this case it just says poor. Blessed are you who are hungry now, for you will be filled. Okay, what do we have to understand here is that this is not physical, it's spiritual or mental or somehow something different. We're feeding our souls, we're feeding our minds, we're feeding our desires for knowledge and truth. What happens on this path when a person really intensely wants to know? It's like, that's it, I've had it. If you know how to watch for it, things will start emerging, answers will come. The desire that you have to find knowledge will emerge if the desire is strong and sincere. So that is the hunger. You're hungering for knowledge. You're hungering for the truth. You're hungering for what is real. And that is what will emerge. When you don't hunger for those things, they really won't, nothing changes. We have to want it, right? At the same time, it's very clever. The practitioner would look at that and say, of course I hunger for the truth. I'm, following Jesus or whatnot. And they're not interpreting the verse. So everybody feels comfortable with carrying something that they may not even actually be really, engaging with mentally. Next we have, blessed are you who weep now, for you will laugh. How bizarre. Again, it's up here. What are we doing if we're weeping? We are mourning something. If we're holding things inside of us that are hurting us and we've got them trapped away, we haven't mourned them. We're not going to heal from them. So what is this telling us right now? Blessed are you who weep now, for you will laugh. We want to become healed from those things. And what happens if we don't mourn them, if we don't look at them, if we don't go forgive who it is? That's what this is kind of about here, forgiving the ought against your brother. If you're not mourning those things, you're not forgiving the ought. Things are not going to change. Okay. Blessed are you when people hate you and when they exclude you, revile you, and defame you on account of the Son of Man. Rejoice on that day and leap for joy, for surely your reward is great in heaven, for that is how their ancestors treated the prophets. Again, the layering on these makes it sound like anybody could own it, right? It's like, oh, I am that. We are hated and we are persecuted. The only people that are persecuted are the people that ask for it. Nobody goes after Christians because they're Christians. I don't go after Christians. But I have had Christians angrily that when I don't agree with them, tell me that I just don't like them. And it's like, you're demonizing me. You're coming after me. I don't care. You are creating your enemy in me because I have to say, get away. All of us do those things, but we don't think we do. What we have here is actually the person that is going on the path, that finds the true path in the middle of this. That's the person who gets, when you are on this path, you are healing and you are telling people, you know what? Yeah, I did this, I did that. This happened, that happened. I was molested, or, there was an abortion, there was somehow something, and there's people around you that are hiding all of that stuff. They have shame, they have hurt, they aren't going to like it. Rejoice when that's happening. You're on course. That's the truth of it. When you put it on the template and play it out in the mind, it is not about the physical world. It is about when you are unloading things, you got to be in the right place. Make sure you find the right people to do it with. There will be people around you when you are saying things. You're going to be forcing their shame to come to the surface. I've been called names before for admitting things. People tell you, oh, you must like it. You talk about it. It's like, that's what happens. You're trying to heal. You're trying to let other people know. What happens? Yeah. So quite honestly, you're taking material that somebody is holding that says that is not what this is about, and you're finding something in there, and you're pointing out an inner path in there that, frankly, you're going to find people don't like you finding it, but you find it. They don't. I'll try to speed through these a little bit faster now that I think everybody's catching on to what's going on. But woe to you who are rich, for you have received your consolation. Okay, this is opposite of poor. But woe to you who are rich. This is not physical. It is about the mind. When you are rich, you are full of things you already know. You got all your answers. You already know everything. You have your consolation. Woe to you who are full now, for you will be hungry. So this is letting them know that, you know what? When you know all the answers, you're going to get hungry later. You don't know what's really there. Woe to you who are laughing now, for you will mourn and weep. So this whole section right here is a kind of a warning against the idea that if you're not empty, if you haven't, what were the ones up here? Blessed are you who are hungry now, for you will be filled. Woe to you who are full now, for you will be hungry. Blessed are you who weep now, for you will laugh. Woe to you who are laughing now, for you will mourn and weep. You see that they're opposites of each other, split up. It's kind of like that. This is the duality that we see in Buddha right here. They just split it up with something in there to make it, the Dhammapada has that same technique, okay? So again, let's just take a look at another example here from the Dhammapada. It's about 500 years previous. 3 and 4, it's in the area called dual verses, right up in front in the beginning. Here's the next one, 3 and 4. He abused me, he beat me, he defeated me, he robbed me. In those who harbor such thoughts, hatred will never cease. He abused me, he beat me, he defeated me, he robbed me. And those who do not harbor such thoughts, hatred will cease. Okay, then if we go right back and look at Jesus again we're just going to skip over the 22 right there. Blessed are you who are poor, for yours is the kingdom of God. But woe to you who are rich, for you have received your consolation. Blessed are you who are hungry now, for you will be filled. Woe to you who are full now, for you will be hungry. Blessed are you who weep now, for you will laugh, and woe to you who are laughing now, for you will mourn and weep. So you see the verse duality is being maintained right there in a teaching, in a common teaching that has different analogs but uses the same techniques. See that? Woe to you when all speak well of you, for that is how their ancestors treated the false prophets. Yeah, that's it. Okay, let's move on. Love your enemies. But I say to you who are listening, love your enemies, do good to those who hate you, bless those who curse you, pray for those who mistreat you. If anyone strikes you on the cheek, offer the other also. And from anyone who takes away your coat, do not withhold even your shirt. Give to everyone who asks of you, and if anyone takes away what is yours, do not ask for it back again. Do to others as you would have them do to you. All right, and then there's arguments that I hear from people saying, well, there's people that take from you. It's not about you giving them, but it's, it just depends on which side you're standing on. The issue is much bigger. The human condition, the whole human state is much bigger than that. We're growing, we're evolving, we're emerging, we're getting bigger and bigger, we're filling in more and more, and we're not really looking at what the true issue is. Honestly, the idea that we're not evolving and that people are not looking ahead. They don't see what the real issue is. At some point, the tribes get too big and they have to start wiping each other out. Space and resources, ideologies, fears. That's what runs creatures on the planet, and humans, despite the fact that we learn to use tools and communicate, we're still operating from that as the baseline of our evolution. And those who deny it won't see it. They're gonna create issues. Yeah, there's no way to see what is really going on when you deny what is going on. That's just it. When you hold on to a supernatural fantasy, okay, all right, well, I don't need to keep going on. This is what I wanted to say. There is a teaching in here that is a very peaceful core teaching that emerges everywhere. When Jesus ceases to become a divider, it's because he learns this and understands there's something core that brings us together. And when you're carrying it on the outside and not understanding it and using it to, I don't see people using the Bible in the way that Jesus intended, or at least the New Testament, his teachings. I don't see Christians using the Bible at all the way it is with this inner teaching. But that inner teaching is difficult to find. It's a peaceful teaching. This has to be figured out much better than what people are doing. Christians are using it as an idol worship tool because of what the Romans did. The Catholic Church right now is trying to, without telling what's going on, make changes. Pope, guess what? You're not going to make any changes. You screwed it up. You told people, not you, but the Catholic Church, we're so greedy we don't even care that you do what Jesus teaches. We just want you to join us. Just worship and you're here. This mess from there, let people know it. It's a little obvious to anybody who looks. You got to pick your head up. Jesus didn't teach what we see in the GOP. All right, well, I had to vent. This really makes me angry. I don't like the way the world is going. I got a daughter with little babies, and I think, you know what? They're coming up into a world that sucks. I don't want to take it away from people who find comfort in it. But you want to take it away from people who use it as a weapon. But it's not just a weapon, is it? It tells us about them. They're holding on to the very thing that's telling us what fruits are emerging from their gardens that they won't resolve. Yeah. What do? What's better for the greater good? A few people feeling comfortable, or the future of humanity knowing that we're writing bullshit? We need to look at what's real. We're evolving, we're tribal, and we're going to shoot right through our planet, ignoring what's really going on because we're too afraid to see it. Arrogance, ego. We're not doing good. And it's getting bigger. And people are getting so used to it that next time something happens that's outlandish, we'll look back at something like this and it won't be a big deal to us. That's how it works. That's where we're going. And nothing's happening to change it. Who's going to emerge are the people who are the strongest and the most violent, the berserkers. That's who's going to win. All right. I hope you didn't enjoy this video. See you in the next one.